Some of Shakespeare's earlier critics were quite nonplussed by his last plays. Here we have a dramatist who writes a series of history plays reflecting political dilemmas of the day, often highly controversial ones, then goes on to write some of the darkest tragedies in the language. And then in his last plays, what does he do? He seems to retreat into a kind of second childhood. Dreamlike, episodic plots, stories of fantastic voyages, magical creatures, miracles. Bored with reality, was one critic's conclusion about him. But actually, these plays contain psychological traumas just as deep as anything in the tragedies. Look at the portrait of nurtured grief in Pericles, or that jealousy in The Winter's Tale, which is every bit as destructive as anything in the earlier plays. So there is no way we can say that in these last plays, Shakespeare just turned his back on
Although the importance of green technology, such as solar energy, wind, and hydropower, is becoming more widely recognized, and this technology is gaining momentum in becoming more widely used, there are still numerous barriers to cross before it can become truly reliable. Take, for instance, solar power in certain countries. Research has suggested that smog caused by increasing air pollution and cloud cover contribute to the solar panels becoming
Currently, over a third of the world's landfill sites comprise construction and demolition waste. This is what is generated when buildings are constructed or demolished, or when infrastructure is built. This has led to calls for the industry to minimize waste and become more resource efficient. To reduce the amount of waste ending up in landfill after demolition, circular construction aims to convert building components that are nearing the end of their service life into resources for others. The reuse, recycling, repair, and remanufacturing of materials, coupled with policy measures, regulation, and investment, should ensure the construction industry
Teachers and librarians usually share a common goal, a love of reading and a sense of responsibility to pass this love of books on. They recognize how important reading is to enable a child to grow intellectually and emotionally, since it is through stories that children build knowledge and an understanding of themselves and the world. A book can encourage children and help them stop seeing reading as a requirement, but rather they can develop a genuine desire and a need to read. And once they understand their part in a wider culture of literature, they hopefully will then become
How do the brains of bilingual babies differ from monolingual babies when they hear language? Well, Neuroscientists recently revealed key differences by conducting research with babies that are growing up in a household with 2 languages and babies growing up with 1. They spoke both French and English to the babies to note their reactions and brain functions. The results showed that the brains of bilingual babies were able to process the sounds of both languages and react equally to both, whereas babies that grew up in a monolingual household could only react to one language and more slowly, and their brains showed no signs of response to
The term innovation is at risk of becoming a buzzword. Popular blogger James Harper has suggested that the word itself is problematic, as it is used to cover too many different aspects of a complex range of ideas. He has recommended breaking down the concept of innovation into types, not completely new or distinct types, but just subcategories of the idea of how to innovate. Chief among those is the association of innovation with process, strategy, and management technique. At the same time, though, the idea has also been strongly linked to the more abstract concept of creativity, a term that's just as hard to pin down. Experts generally concur that innovation done well leads to increased job opportunities, profit, and better standards of living, but it will be hard to develop strategies to encourage these things.
The word poison may create images of murder and tragedy in the mind, but the power of poisons to also heal has been understood for centuries. Just 1 teaspoon of the botulinum toxin, for example, could kill the whole population of the UK, and yet it's become the basic ingredient for treatments of muscular problems, including its latest fashionable use as a popular wrinkle treatment, Botox. The yew tree, which is deadly poisonous, has been found to have the potential to save thousands of lives by slowing down the growth of cancer cells. These examples and others are challenging the concept that poisons are an instrument of death. Far from it. And although small doses of natural poisons have been used to relieve the pain of surgery or to treat coughs for centuries, modern science has become much more successful in recent years at isolating the properties of these plants and putting them to use in medical treatments. As a result,
I am a chartered psychologist. I've taught psychology really from for everything from young people with learning difficulties through to postgraduate level for about 25 years. I've also done some work on transitions between different levels of psychology, done some research there. And really, this book is a kind of product of
As architectural compliments go, it would be rather hard to beat the French historian Auguste Choisy's description of ancient Greece's Parthenon, as he referred to this temple as the supreme effort of genius in pursuit of beauty. Of course, Choisy isn't alone in his praise of this famous Athenian landmark. Though the Parthenon inevitably needs almost constant restoration and can be undeniably overcrowded during peak tourist periods, for many this site